Welcome in, Minnesota, back again for a state final edition, a prep bowl edition of the Minnesota High School Football Network podcast. Alongside of me, co-host, officially now, Coach Wilkie. How are you doing?
Great to be here, and I'm excited for the show. I have more notes, even though we have less games to talk about. More notes than I've probably had, just because we were able to really watch all the games. We talked about that, so I'm excited to break them down and talk about the pluses and minuses of some of the games and how they ended up.
Yeah, I was telling you, I've never watched so much high school football in a 3-day span until
Yeah.
last week, and then even the Thursday games, it's going to take a little bit to jog the memory because we're talking about it's almost like a week ago. So
Yeah.
it did happen a while ago, but also games happen Saturday as well. So it's
I was rereading
lot
my
of
notes
time.
from Thursday for those games because I was like, just thinking about watching those and some of the key things. I'm like, I need to refresh my memory because that was a bit ago.
Yeah. Well, without further ado, we're going to get into it with our one way to make high school football better. But before we get into that, I just want to say subscribe, and share it out to somebody who you think would enjoy, whether it's, teammates, whether it's family members, whether it's coaches. I usually say that, but I say it at the end of the video. So just to get that off the top, and then, do that. It helps us grow, and hey, we love doing it as well. So without further ado, my one thing to grow or better the Minnesota high school football scene is let's do not plaques, because I think the state trophy or whatever, it's a plaque. I want a trophy. I want something shiny to go
You
on
want
the
to look like the
trophy case.
Stanley Cup,
Hey, I want it to
right?
be
Like
shiny in some
a
sort of way.
some giant
However,
trophy. I
let's make
appreciate
it
that.
look better. Let's make it
Yeah.
look better.
No, the one in I've followed Texas high school football for a long time, and they do big trophies for that, so I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on officials on mine. A few years ago, and I know I'm not picking on refs because I know it's a tough job every week. Football is a big, fast, physical game, but I really dislike the umpire moving back behind the quarterback. So right now, people watch the referee, the white hat, and the umpire, who used to stand between the linebackers at about 7 yards, right over the center. They've moved both those guys back there, and the reason they've done it is because it's a little safer for that umpire to be back. And otherwise you have the crossing routes, right? Yep. All that kind of stuff, and everything happens, and you see it in the games where those officials are. It's a little riskier location, but I guess from my standpoint, I feel like there's a lot of holding calls missed in that area that they can't see because they're so far away from the play. They're 15 yards from the play, and I feel like I also think sometimes there's some procedural things up front that they can't see and hear with defensive players calling snap counts and things like that. Right. So I wish they could find a way to get them back.
We got to get the young guys in that spot. If there's like an age limit to get the young guys, the more nimble guys that can move a little bit better.
Yeah. I can see that, but that's probably my one fix. But I did, my biggest complaint is the video review during the regular season. But when we got into US Bank, they reviewed a lot of plays, and I will give them credit. They did it very quickly, and they got them right. And they got them right.
Notes.
Yeah, they got them right. They had some.
You can see the replay, and
it was really good.
Bang, and
really good.
Field, so
yeah, I thought it was great. So I appreciated that. So I'm glad that they do that, especially when you get to this point of the season where the championship is on the line.
Your replay asks are met there for the US Bank, but
yeah,
it's gonna be tough getting it in any other stadium. But hey, I like it.
I do too.
All right. Well, let's get into it. We're going to start with 6A. We're going to work our way below. But I'm going to have the link for my 7-on-7's registration page. We've talked about it the past few weeks, but I think Winter League for high schoolers starts in January. And I think it's just 3 weeks, at least the Winter League is, and then they get to spring. But get your team signed up. I'm pretty sure they have 3 locations for high schoolers, and that's 9 through 12. And I know middle school is kind of the youth, and I think they might be in December. So that's really coming up if you're a middle schooler, look into that. But high schoolers starting in January, they also have a spring league. The links will be in the description. Go register your team, go register
do that
as an individual, and message me if you have any message Minnesota High School Football Network on Instagram if you have any questions on registration, or I'm sure if you email my 7-on-7 or whatever, they'll answer any questions and get you set up easy.
As a former high school coach, I couldn't recommend it more for off-season training and
I hope to be there recording too for some exposure for some social media stuff,
Sure.
off-season content-wise. So yeah, that'll be fun. Get out there so I can watch it. But without further ado, let's get into it. All right.
Wow.
So we're starting with the 6A games. Where do you want to start? Where do you want to take us? I'll let you steer the ship for now.
Let's do the Moorhead Lakeville South game first.
Yeah.
And not really in the order, but let's talk about them.
All right. Well,
I think I brought this up and I talked about contrasting styles, right? We know that we have a Moorhead team that's a spread team, throws the ball really well, really balanced run pass actually. And you have Lakeville South who runs the power T, original OG team running that Elk River. Lakeville South runs a little bit differently, but I feel like the power T got Maple Grove last week, a team that everybody thought was going to win the state championship, a lot of people anyway. And I told you that I felt Moorhead had a better chance with that offense because they've seen Elk River a few times over the last few years of their defensive coaches. And I that prediction came true. Their defense really, really held Lakeville South in check. They had the one touchdown in the first half, second quarter, I believe, kind of early in the second quarter, but they had a lot of punts. I'm guessing in that game, they might've punted more than they've punted most of the season. So Moorhead's defense, I know we want to talk about their offense, but I think this game really was a defensive, hats off to Moorhead on that.
Yeah, and that was one of my main concerns of Moorhead is like I didn't think they had the defense to win state, and they've obviously proven me wrong, especially stopping this Lakeville South team in its tracks. I think Lakeville South attempted their first pass in a few weeks that game. So when it comes to that time, I thought there was a chance. I don't know what this score was. I think Moorhead was up 6, and I was like Lakeville South's going to get the ball here, and it's going to be, that 7 points is going to win them this game. That's all they're thinking. So it was it was a fun game. Coach Feeney's drawing Dan Campbell comparisons of the gambling man just rolling the dice.
I'll tell you what,
if
we fast forward in this game, and you and I were texting back and forth during the fourth quarter was wild, right? Like the things that were going on as far as the decisions that were being made. And I know that Coach Feeney he's a fantastic football coach, but you're making decisions in that game to win and not just try to hang on, and knowing that you can't give the ball back to Lakeville South, right? And you have to do what you do best. And I know in that stretch at the end where people are saying, you just have to run the ball. You just have to run the ball. And the way Lakeville South is lining up and with the weapons that Moorhead has, they just, Zach Walker and obviously, David Mack, those are guys that are really difficult to take out of the game. So that happened. I know the play we want to talk about. I don't know if you have the slide up there, but we're talking at about, it was
late third quarter.
It was late third quarter. They're
4th and 1 on their own
20-yard line. It's 4th and 1, and they line up, and then they take time out. And you and I are like, well, they're just trying to draw them off sides, right? They're not going to go for it. And as we're watching this, I look at this clip and I'm like, they're going for it, because I just saw the clip. This slide that you have right here, whoever that assistant coach is doing the same thing we're doing. I go, they're going for it, because he's looking at Coach Feeney like, are you crazy right now? Because if we don't get this, Lakeville South's going to go in and score, make this a 1-score game.
Right.
And so I give Coach Feeney all the credit in the world. He's got confidence in his players and his system. And I do think that Lakeville South started to struggle with how to line up defensively to deal with the receiving core that Moorhead has, and then also that really solid running game that I think is probably underrated. But man, he's hauling those things around in a wheelbarrow, if you know what I mean, with a call like that.
They went for it multiple times, but this was probably the biggest one. and most gutsy. I think they spread everybody out, and it was kind of a 5-man box, and Feeney just was a quarterback blast, and he just took it up, and he
He
got
just ran up.
stuck
Yeah,
at
he got hit. He got hit by the
really, like, it was the
linebacker.
first down line, and they reviewed it, and they didn't have – I think the
That
call on the
was
field is a first down.
yeah.
So the review had to prove that he didn't get there, and he didn't
Well, I
really
do
have
think
much.
on that topic, and I was talking about the officials, but I do think that it makes the officials more confident to make calls because they know that it'll get corrected, right? So if they
Yeah.
think it's the first down, call it. If you think it's an interception, call it. If you think the catch is close, make it a catch. Let them overturn it upstairs, and I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So I did like that. But yeah, that play call by Coach Feeney was gutsy. And
They barely
that's how
get
you
it.
win.
Zach
That's how you
Walker, I
that's
think,
how you
is a
win
cheap
games.
post right after, and they go score.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things where your team is confident. You're confident in what your players can do. And I'm guessing Lakeville South there's part of them that didn't think they probably told their guys in the timeout, hey, stay on sides. They're just trying to draw us off. And all of a sudden they snap the ball at your own 20. I mean, that's legendary kind of stuff, if you ask me. So I love it.
And we'll go down in history if Moorhead wins the state championship.
Yeah, because I'm guessing they'll probably be doing it again this week. But just some shout outs in that game to obviously David Mack I think the rest of the state is getting to see some of the things that we saw most of the season. What a smooth receiver he is, how reliable he is. That play down in the end zone where it's 4th down again, and they decided to go for it on the 5-yard line, and he just throws the quick slant out there to him. It's just smooth as butter, and it's a touchdown. And I do think it's a challenge when you have really different offenses. I talked about this last week that I think when you're a power run team like Lakeville, I think it's a lot more difficult to simulate Moorhead's offense than it is for Moorhead to simulate Lakeville's offense. But that's me. So what I've used to anyway.
I agree. And I think this is now going over to the Edina Tonka, if you have anything else for that one.
No, I'm good on that one. I'm excited.
The first one where we're going to see like 2 big spread teams in the same prep bowl, and that means one of them has to win. So shout out there. But Edina, Minnetonka, what were your initial thoughts there?
I think, when the game started off, it's a blowout. Like, I'm like, this could be running clock. Tonka jumps out on them 28 rock or 28-7, and they're going to have the ball going to start the second half. And you're thinking, if Edina doesn't score here, this is really going to just ugly. Yeah, they're going to get boat raced, and it's going to be a massive blowout. And what's amazing on that is that, Edina's had this situation, same thing when they were playing Forest Lake. No panic. They came back, Mason West, 28-yard touchdown, and bam, all of a sudden it's 14-7, right? And then it's 21-28, but then Caleb Francois, who's just having this mind-blowing rushing game, he has like 250 yards of rushing right at halftime, but right before that he fumbles with a minute to go in the first half, and you're thinking, oh man, because if they drive down and score on that or get anything out of it, it's really going to be tough. But then, Edina takes that thing down and scores it, right almost at the buzzer halftime. And all of a sudden, hey, their confidence is big going into halftime. So then it got interesting, right? Minnetonka is, again, you start with the ball in the second half, you weather the storm. The problem is Francois is standing on the sideline. He's got some type of leg injury. He doesn't come back on the field. And I'm guessing the Edina defense is like, okay, they're the best player in the state, arguably, is standing on the sideline. So now they've got a chance.
Yeah, I thought Minnetonka really my whole reason for believing in Minnetonka was they have a quarterback. And now when they do need to pass, or if Francois does get injured, that they're going to be able to keep their heads above water because they're more than one-dimensional this season.
Right.
I think in a way my point was proven, but in a way it wasn't, because, Minnetonka dropped a whole lot of passes, and it felt
really
like
did.
Gutzmer was putting it where it needed to be for the most part, and just drop after drop. And the one Gutzmer bad throw that I think he wish he would add back was like a post route to Cody Brunn. And I think at this point it was 14-28 Minnetonka. And if Gutzmer nails that throw, that's going to be 35-14.
That could have been the backbreaker. You're right.
He underthrew it. Now Brown, I think Cody Brunn should have made the catch, but at the same time, it should have been a way better ball, and it
Better
should have
throw,
been a
yeah.
touchdown. But it's hard to
I think
blame Gutzmer because he, for pretty much all of his throws, at least in my opinion, were pretty much spot on. But it's just the catches were lackluster there.
sure. I thought too, the other thing with Gutzmer that I thought was impressive is you could see his leg injury is still bothering him the way I thought he looked. Like he had the knee brace on, and I feel like he didn't look as mobile as he probably would be without that, injury to start the season. But he still was able to move around and fight off some pressure that was coming in there and make some throws. I thought was interesting to your point was you wanted them to throw the ball more. And I know Coach Asher wants to just pound that ball with Caleb Francois. Well, all of a sudden he's out. They had the sophomore running back out there for a bit. But when they had to throw the ball and that was all they could do, impressive. And you're kind of wondering like, man, maybe this should have been something earlier in the half, right? Without Francois, because I really thought they did. And, not to fast forward too far to the end, but the ending of this game was phenomenal. All of a sudden they think they've got this game. This game went from 28-7 to 42-28. Flip script so hard. And but Tonka doesn't panic. They still have a chance. And their 2 drives at the end were incredible. They score with 4 minutes, 49 seconds left. Gutzmer to Simonson and make it a 1-score game. And then get the stop. I didn't think they'd kick off it, and they ball and drive down and score. And then it becomes the decision, right? Do you go to overtime with a PAT, or do you go for 2? And you know how I feel about that. If you got us to win the football game. But they, you and I were talking about this he's got to be the decoy, right?
Yeah.
And Edina takes time out to talk about it. They put him back out there in the same formation, and they do get the reverse look. And I think if they hand that thing off, that kid walks in.
Yep.
And they gave it to Francois, and he's tackled for a loss, and the season's over, right? It's one of those deals, I guess, you always hindsight's 2020, and everybody has the answer after the play. But I just felt like, well, how did you get back into the game, right? And I know he's your best player, but he also wasn't 100%. And I'm sure if Coach had that over, he probably would have maybe tried something different there. But credit to Edina, their defense hung in there and stood the test right at the end. So they got their chance again. After they lost a couple of years ago, and now they're back. So really impressive finish.
Yeah, the 2 timeouts was kind of a killer on the 2-point conversion. Of Minnetonka took 2 timeouts in order to set that play up. So really, if they didn't get it, they had 3 timeouts. So even if they don't get it, I mean, they still have some sort of a chance. But taking 2 timeouts for a 2-point, I mean, it was 3 timeouts in a row, 2 by Tonka and 1 by Edina, and then just put in the running back in there that you didn't think was healthy enough to be in there for a quarter and a half is just a little puzzling. But again, and then I would like if you're gonna put him in, go downhill. It was a lot of it was side to side when you were kind of, I don't know. I just, if you're gonna put him in and you're gonna give him a chance, I want him going north and south, especially with an injury, because he's probably gonna run through a decent amount of people. But
I just feel like he hadn't been out there the whole half. Right. I mean, he hadn't been out there the whole half, and that's just not fair to him in my eyes. But
yeah, no, I 100% agree. And Minnetonka.
Yeah, I guess if you rewatch the final play, they had the look coming out of the boundary, and I think, if you're going to use him as the decoy, I guess,
Yeah. All right. So
look at the odds too. Look at the odds. 74% to 28%. And I just rake Cole's cash on that.
Yeah, that was just big L's for me going on. I think I picked Tonka, you picked Moorhead. So you got your pick, and then you got your default pick, which it wasn't a default pick because you did pick Edina. So props to you.
Yeah.
That is a true 2-0, not a I want to know what the default pick there. So,
but I feel like I started off just the way Minnetonka started off in the game, just jumped out to an early lead, right?
just
So
about.
I do like the final. Do you want to talk about? Should we do the predictions as we go?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I like it too. So
this is the screen for the predictions. Let me get our faces up here, but and there's no default picks here, so I'm just gonna move your W to wherever you want to put your Coles cash.
I am going to take my Coles cash and put it right there on Edina.
Really? Okay.
Yes. And I will tell you why. They played in this game before. Their coaches have coached in this game before. And I think Mason West, he could have left Edina High School and he could be playing in a minor league NHL team right now and ready for the pros. And he decided to stay in high school. And I think he's here to win a state championship. And I think they'll have a really good game plan. I think their defense is what they did against Minnetonka. I think they can do against Moorhead.
Yeah. Hey, I think for storylines, I like the Edina pick, and I think I'm not going to be upset if Edina wins, especially because go back to previous podcasts. I think my thing was Moorhead was going to win the state title next year, so they're a year ahead of schedule, at least on my calendar wise.
Sure.
So Edina, yeah, get it this year and then let Moorhead get it next year. But I don't think that's how it's going to shake out. And I think the storyline of Mason West getting revenge, it sounds good, but I think this Moorhead team is something else, and they're a year ahead of schedule. The defense is less concerning, especially because they've first off proven it that they can go against teams not to Edina's kind of offensive style. But I just feel confident that this Moorhead team, no matter what Edina does and how many points they do score, Moorhead's going to be able to score more. That's just how I feel. Minnetonka's secondary was abysmal, and I think Edina's weapons really took care of that with Sammy Stevenson, Jabari Strader. They ran a lot of, it was a lot of corners looking at the receiver, catching the ball,
Sure.
kind of man coverage, backside looks, which I think Moorhead has better DBs to be able to handle that. But also when you look on the other end, it's the same thing. But the first regular season game was high scoring, and I think it's going to be another high scoring game where you're going to see a lot of offensive weapons featured.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And I'm not going to be surprised if Moorhead wins this game. I just think it's always interesting, the mindset of juniors versus seniors, right? Where there's a lot less pressure on Moorhead if they don't win. Right. Because they are coming back next year, right? Yeah. Where those seniors on the other side of the ball and Edina's side, it's like, this is our last chance. So
and
I think that's a hard thing.
That's
I think that's a hard thing as a coach too, where you don't want to focus on that so much. The kids already know that, but you're just two really well-coached teams. I love the offenses both teams run. I think their defensive setup is very well matched. I mean, Edina's going to know how to defend pass just like Moorhead does. They match up in practice, right? So I don't think Moorhead's going to be over the top concerned with Edina just because their D-backs go against David Mack and Zach every day in practice. So it's like they get challenged. But no, it's going to be a great football game. It's going to be a really, really fun game to watch. I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, can't wait. Let's get into 5A. Spring Lake Park. Roach kind of has the game of his life there, rushing for, I don't know what, I think it was 150 at least plus yards of rushing. I didn't get the exact.
Yeah, I've got the stat line right here.
He was running wild.
It was Nolan Roach had 190 rushing, 2 TDs. His yards per attempt are 12.7.
Nice.
So yeah, he had a day, and I think it's kind of surprised me just because Spring Lake Park, that's an offensive system that those kids have been running for years, right? And they've run that for the program itself, run that offense for years. So I just feel like a St. Thomas team that's also runs a lot of belly type option stuff. I just felt like they would defend it better, but Spring Lake Park was just so on their game. And when you're able to move the football like that and take care of the football. And I want to jump in on something else before we get through all the games. But if there's anybody out there that, we know it's a cliche, but turning the football over will absolutely kill you. And in every one of these football games, the teams that were turning the ball over was so costly. Going all the way back to Minnetonka, those turnovers are just disastrous. So in any of those situations, so if you go through the games, you turn the ball over, you're probably going to lose. Second best only to second place would be penalties, and third place is not taking care of your special teams. But Spring Lake Park, that was fantastic. They blew up in the third quarter. And that's where they just really pulled away.
Start the second half, and that's just a momentum snowball there that got rolling.
Yeah, so
it was not stopped.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that just takes the wind out of their sails. And again, a team like St. Thomas Academy, that's a really run-based program. And I'll say that, and I know Spring Lake Park doesn't throw a lot of passes, but some of these teams, and I guess that's my only pick on some of these teams, is you can win with a power run game, but what happens when you're down 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter when you get to this point of the year and you have no passing game?
You lose.
And you lose. And it's tough. It's really tough. So I saw a couple of those teams, like they're still running the football. Like they don't have anything else they don't have their offense to run.
Right.
So anyway, great football game. It got to be a little bit of a snoozer at the end because of the gap, but still a great effort by Spring Lake Park. And they are definitely riding high coming into the state championship game.
Prep Bowl worthy, that is for sure. And then we got Chanhassen taking down the Elks.
I had so much fun watching this game.
Yeah.
Because it's again contrasting styles, and Chan is just full of weapons, and Elk River just typically struggles with teams that can throw the ball. And their defense just kind of rose to the occasion and made some plays. I don't think, honestly, I don't want to take anything away from Chan, but I don't think they really had the best game plan against Elk River's offense, to be honest with you. I think they beat Elk River with better athletes. I don't think the scheme was overwhelming. Too many of their defensive linemen, like their nose guard, the Linder kid that's going to Iowa, they're just shooting gaps and they're shooting the wrong way. And, you think about that play that Elk River had where, they stopped Chan. Chan punts him down to like the 1 yard line and then a 98-yard touchdown, which is just
it's quite classic, the momentum flip
classic Elk River stuff. You know what I mean? And so those types of things. But, again, it comes down to, special teams plays, and Elk River had some just really not usual types of turnovers in the game, and some fumbles that they recovered that were just mishandled. But just a hell of a football game. And you'll get down there and I know, when you think about, statistic wise, like Levi Harris, I mean, he has 100 yards probably every game at quarterback, but just a hard-nosed kid. But we get down to the end of the game and you got to make decisions again. Elk River drives down, they can kick the field goal to tie the game.
Yeah.
And they decide to, I don't know what their kicking situation is. They obviously weren't super excited about it, but they try to run a play from the 5 yard line. And basically that was an abomination. Like they didn't get a thing on it. And they tried to throw a jump pass. It's like, well, so right. I don't know. I think, Coach Hamilton, great season by Elk River. Coach Hamilton's a great coach. I'm sure he wishes he had a couple play calls back as well. But I really thought Elk River's defense was the story for them, because Chan, offensively I like the Bush kid, the tight end, is just fantastic. Like the way he's in the backfield and he's running crossing routes, and man, that kid is a stud. Yeah, that kid is an absolute stud. And I like that, the way he moves and the way he, catches the football and everything else. Ramler obviously is a fantastic quarterback, and he just did, he didn't make any, real bad decisions out there with the football. So I think all of that was key too. So don't turn the football over. Don't make special teams mistakes, and you got a chance to win. And, Chanhassen played well enough to hang on.
For Alexandria's sake, I'm glad Elk River lost, just because, we've talked about the seeding and how that kind of worked out of Elk River getting the one. Even though I have no horse in the race or anything. I just feel a little bit satisfied that kind of Elk River somehow getting the 1 seed ends up going down, and Chan gets to I don't know, but
Yeah, I think, and I don't know, like, credit to Spring Lake Park too, because, back and forth on this thing where Spring Lake Park was not a team that we had in our top 4 thinking they're gonna.
it was the strength of schedule thing that was kind of holding
Yeah,
me back,
yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
now
And so I think that, they obviously are a much better team than we gave them credit for, and we know they are. And I don't know. I guess thinking about, if you're Spring Lake Park, would you rather play Elk River or would you rather play Chan? I don't know. Their defense is better than we probably gave them credit for as well. I personally would rather play Chan. I don't like trying to get ready for Coach Hamilton's offense. Like, he does some crazy stuff during the playoffs, and they almost found a way to knock off Chan. They're a play away, so I think that's something too that kind of is helpful for Chan. If they can stop a run game like that, that's going to maybe make it a little tougher for Spring Lake Park. But
Alex is
it's
more
going to be a good
true
matchup.
spread, which Spring Lake Park played already. I'd
Mhm.
say Chan is a little bit more, having a tight end in there or two, personnel wise, but it's more similar to a scheme rather than having a week to get ready for, the power team Elk River coming to the bank. But yeah, interesting stuff. Let's get on to what we picked last week. I think, now correct me if I'm wrong, I picked Spring Lake Park, I'm pretty sure.
Mhm.
And you picked Elk River. So then, hey, I get the
We're
sweep, the
even.
default
Yeah,
sweep
we're
there.
even,
Yep,
right?
we're even.
Yep.
This is good. I get some of my money back there. But let's get to our picks for this week. Who you picking?
I
Um,
I
yeah.
really I like Spring Lake Park in this game. I think we undersold them during the season. I think they have offensively really come alive, especially against the better competition. And I do think that their defense and their secondary can stand up to Chanhassen. I think they're a more physical team than people probably expect. And I think, like you said, we probably shortened them a little bit because of their strength of schedule, which is not their fault. But I think Spring Lake Park's going to find a way to win this football game.
Oh man, there's no default picks here, so it's not a matter of me picking Chanhassen because I have to. But man, Spring Lake Park are gonna hate me because I know a lot of Spring Lake Park guys. I'm gonna go over here. I think Spring Lake Park's their running game, they're physical,
Yeah,
and I think they're gonna be too physical for Chanhassen. That's gonna be
sure.
the difference. But that's gonna be Chanhassen's gonna have to. I don't know. There's definitely a path to Chanhassen winning this. They're loaded with talent, and I think we're gonna see. I think Chanhassen's going to score more points than Alex did in the first meeting. Well, their section game
Right, right.
with Spring Lake Park. So it's a matter of what these offenses can do. But I think Spring Lake Park showed us what they can do against, like I said, not the exact same style,
Well,
but a similar identity in style. So I like Spring Lake Park.
Well, I think you're right, and I think that Chan's going to run into the same situation they ran into last week, where Spring Lake Park is a team that if you get behind and they're going to put that thing in low and grind the football down the field, and all of a sudden 8 minutes is off that clock, and you don't have a chance, to get drives in. The only thing I'll give Chan credit and lean on a little bit is they do have a passing game, so
Right.
they're not left for dead if they are down, but it will be more difficult. But I'm excited for this one too. It's another just fantastic game, and it should end up coming down to probably the last drive again, or somebody going for 2 at the end to win or whatever.
Can't wait for the Chan Barstool or the Chan student section account to take this one and run with it after the game.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let's go on to 4A. The Kassen-Mantorville game was interesting because it was pretty much like Kassen had this handled, and I think it was 16-0, and they ended up like somehow letting Grand Rapids receivers get past them, which I don't know how you do when you're up 16 against the running team.
You text me,
That's
you're like, this is
insane.
a great comeback. I'm like, what? I turned it off because it was 16 rock and Grand Rapids wasn't doing anything.
And we talk about running teams can't come back.
Yep.
Like that's not
Yep.
what they're about. And they came so close, and the 2-point conversion ended up short. But I think
Yeah.
the score is kind of a liar in this, because Kassen was, I would say, the much better team, but they ended up doing, I don't know if it was
Sometimes
scheme
you
or
take your foot off the pedal a little bit,
Right.
and the game got boring for them too. I don't know, but
got dicey,
Grand Rapids
tell you
finds
what.
a way, and I'm telling you, those onside kicks, I
They
stand by
got
this
2
all
of
the
them in a
time.
row.
Well, you know this as a player, and I know this as a coach and a player. You can't practice that live.
Yeah.
So you can go through kicking
tell
it to
your guys
kids and all that kind of stuff, and there's
freaking
dudes
lay 'em
running at
out.
them, and it's just like, yeah, it's a different thing. And that ball is not round. We talk about that all the time, but credit to Grand Rapids, because they could have easily
No, it
tossed
was
the towel,
definitely
and
fun.
they came back,
Right.
and it was a fun game, and they go for 2 to try to tie it up at the end, and come up short there. But yeah, all of a sudden I was flip that thing off, and all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute, maybe I'm going to watch overtime. So, but Kassen, they're still a team that I've watched all season and really love what they do too, and their kids have a lot of grit. So that was a fun one.
Yeah, the Orono Marshall game was also a fun one.
Wow.
I don't know. Orono's offense, I'm not the biggest fan of. I feel like they rely on a lot of like the fly jet motion type stuff to kind of get some misdirection and such. It wasn't. I think the jet sweep was like the only thing working for him a couple times, and then it kind of stopped and it got a little stale. But the defense is pretty similar to the first matchup between these guys, of a low scoring kind of what offense is going to break through the game. Obviously, we'll talk about the ending, but what were your thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, it's one of those things where the defenses, we have to give a lot of credit to the defense too. I think both sides of the ball, and I think both those teams have had good defenses all season. So I don't think the score going through the game is surprising that it was 7-7 at the end of regulation.
Right.
And I just thought that, to your point, the Orono scheme was, I don't have a problem with their scheme because they've done well with it, but I think Marshall's defense was obviously really solid. I think that
wait, hold on. Before I sent you that screenshot of what they tried to pull on the goal line backed up. That was
so that kid must
insane.
that kid had to be an eligible number hiding in there.
Right.
They must have created an unbalanced
I wish I had the
situation.
screenshot to show, but
yeah,
it was
so
like the guard. You explain it.
Yeah, so they basically put an eligible receiver in the guard spot, but had him in the backfield, so he looked like he was kind of a guard, but not really. And then they had 2 receivers far to the left of boundary, and they're going to throw a double pass. So it looked like they were running tunnel screen, and they almost got a safety to end the game.
He had to dive out of the end zone.
Yeah, they're trying to throw a pass, and you're like, that dude's screaming down the field, and I had to watch it again. I'm like, oh, I see what they're trying to do here. But in trying to run that trick play, they almost cost themselves the game, right? And so I think that's
probably the most gutsy call.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost just like Coach Feeney's, going for it in your own fourth down on your own 20. But I think that we get to the overtime, and Marshall goes first. They lost the toss, so Marshall goes first. They score in like 2 plays, right? Kick the PAT. Orono gets the ball. Their first play, they run a little play action boot, and the quarterback's getting flushed, and he narrowly avoids a sack, and then scrambles all the way to the right sideline and has time, and then throws it across the field under the goalpost to what's the big tight end's name? Stelter. Or no. Where is he at? What's that kid's name? Oh no, Maurda. What's that dude's name? Is it Vinton? Yeah, the tight end Vinton. He's the big dude. He catches that pass and he spikes the ball on the touchdown and right in front of the back judge, and then the flag goes up. And
I hated it. You liked it.
Well, dude, you can't spike the ball right in front of the official like that.
These kids grow up watching NFL players do that.
But you can't do that. Do it all season. But
stop it.
So he spikes
I will forever disagree with that.
You can, but so anyway, now they've got this. They're going to send their kicker out there to kick a 35-yard PAT to try to tie the game again. And after their timeout, they're like, well, we're going to put our offense out here. And for some reason, Marshall's running press man, and they just one-step throw that thing for a 2-point conversion to win the game. So just a crazy play, crazy way to finish, because I'm sure, Orono's thinking, oh, great. Now we have, we're at the 20-yard line for our PAT. So, but just a crazy one.
It's the no fun thing that it's like, what do you want the dude to do? Pretend like he's been there before? Like,
yes,
he's not
drop
gonna do it.
Hand it to the ref right next to you, and celebrate with your teammates. He could have, I think if he would have spun it on the ground, but his spike was like NFL Gronkowski style. Like, he hammered that thing. So it wasn't like the ref could just I didn't see that. And I get why he was excited. Like, that was a huge play, right? So that keeps them alive, because they were kind of left for dead there. But really good game.
I'm so glad it worked out the way it did, that Marshall ended up running press man and let a fade from fourth and crazy goal.
Just crazy.
Because I didn't want to see Orono lose based off just that one thing, and I thought that's what it was going to come down to.
Sure.
It's like, really, that's
I think it would have been, if they wouldn't have called that, it would have gone to another overtime. It would have been another PAT, so then it would have just been from there. But as it turned out, I think either Orono or Marshall, they're so evenly matched. Either one of those two teams against Kassen-Mantorville is just a fantastic finish.
Yeah. So you had the Grand Rapids default picked. I picked Kassen, and I think you picked Marshall as well. So I end up sweeping this one with my pick and one default. So
tough.
Hey, that's big time for me right there.
That's actually impressive. Actually impressive. Yeah. Did you start doing what I told you to the George Costanza thing, where you just you say, well, I should pick this team, but I'm going to pick the opposite every time?
I'm not going to say yes or no to that.
Okay. I feel like if that's your strategy, it's paying off.
All right. Well, give me your pick for
Kassen. I will tell you, I watched more Kassen than Orono this year, but after the Orono game, I feel like you can slide my W over there to Orono. I really love their athletes. I love their balance run pass. I think that even if Kassen gets up on them, I think they can throw the ball well. I don't know if Kassen has seen that type of offense enough this year to effectively have a game plan that can be maybe destructive for Orono's movement of the ball. But I really think Orono, we undersold them most of the year too. But I love Kassen. I've watched them a lot this year and what they were able to do with Byron and Stewartville and all that kind of stuff. But man, I think Orono is going to raise the banner.
Hey, this one is, I don't know. There's not a lot of thought that goes into this. And it's not a whole lot of explanation from what happened this past week, but it's a matter of going back to preseason of I thought, and I think they're in section 1. Whoever came out of section 1 was going to win state. And I'm going to bank on my preseason kind of thought. And that's kind of what the general consensus was, at least mine was throughout the season. I just didn't know who was going to be. And clearly Kassen is risen and is, at the prep bowl now. So that's going to be my pick. I'm going to ride the common train here.
No, I can't argue too much against it, but the more I watched Orono offense and defense and some of their weapons, I'm more impressed.
Yeah, no doubt. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
We got, two interesting games.
Let's start with the Waseca. I'll tell you what, I really thought Waseca would just run over Dilworth. And Dilworth, Glendon, Felton, I don't want to leave out the other two cities. But I was impressed. I thought Dilworth really physically matched up better than I thought they would. Waseca, really good-sized offensive and defensive line. And Duron Russell is a Mr. Football finalist, and he's a Division I kid. And when you watch this kid out on the field, you notice him very quickly on both sides of the ball. He's a good athlete. But, it's another one of those games that comes down to special teams and making decisions on going for two or kicking a PAT type thing. And, DGF misses their PAT and Waseca hangs on and defensively and wins the game. So much closer game than I expected. I thought Waseca really would run this thing, and credit to Dilworth, Glenn, and Felton, and not be intimidated by the athletes in the blue helmets.
I thought it was at the end of the first half that Deron Russell kind of reeled that kind of crazy catch in to
Yeah, it was
7. Okay, it was on Star Tribunes. It says it was in the first quarter, which I was like, I don't think that. So yeah, when you look at that, I mean, that is kind of it's pretty much the difference in this game. And DGF was right there to tie it as well. So think about how big that play was. And I got to see the coaching press conference, which we don't get to see a lot because they're not like released to the public. But apparently he had a different play called, and he was like, "Nah, I'm just going to give one of my best players a shot." That being Deron Russell. And
who do you throw it to when you don't know who to throw it to? Your best player. Genetics wins.
Yes,
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, no, I was just looking at the stat line, and it was 1 second left in the first quarter. So it was right at the buzzer of the first quarter when he caught that pass. So, and that was almost a 50-50 ball. It was a little underthrown, and he went up and basically took that thing away. So from two defenders. So well covered, and he's just a better athlete.
Yeah. The North Annandale game, I think Annandale kind of made a statement. I don't know. That was kind of one where
this is one of those games where I get a text message after the game from one of my former players who was a captain for me about 20 years ago, and he's an assistant coach for Annandale, and he hopefully half jokingly says thanks for not picking us. But I think Annandale is a fantastic team, well coached and big physical team. North did what they could with their speed on the perimeter. I just think you get worn down in a game physically by their size up front and their ability to just, hang onto the football and hold drives. And I think it forces, North to take chances that they probably don't want to take. And they had a couple of turnovers that were forced because of Annandale's physicality up front and pressured Langenmeyer. And he probably hasn't seen pressure like that from those size dudes chasing him around. And I think that made it a little tougher, but North is a solid football team. Coach Adams is a great coach as well, but Annandale really flexed their muscles in this game.
They did, most definitely. It's going to make for an interesting game there. I think I took Waseca, and you picked North. I'm pretty sure.
I did.
Going back to it,
I did. So. My former captain reminded me of that I did not pick their team.
Hey, and his statement to you puts a lot of pressure on you for your upcoming pick to see who you're going to go with. But
for sure.
Just another sweep there for me. So
you're running the table today. Well done, sir.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
But let me get my graphic up here so I can put you down wherever. But where do you?
What's funny about this is I want to talk about this for a second. What's funny is going back to week probably 3 was the first time I watched Waseca. They were playing somebody that we had ranked, and it was going to be a matchup. So I would actually watch their game. And what's funny, it was the week after Holy Family, where my son is the head football coach, played Annandale. And I'm like, man, they look really like Annandale physically up front. And so seeing them in the final is not surprising. I kind of said I wouldn't be surprised if they played in the championship. But I do feel like Annandale's resume, what they've done consistently over the season, as long as they can keep Deron Russell from, having a banner day, I think Annandale's offense and their defense is tough enough to, raise the banner.
Yes. Hopefully it updates. It's updated on my phone, but not on the graphic yet. And I'm going to agree with you here, and I'm going to go Annandale. So I think this is the second time that we've had agreement on who we think is going to win. But I think, again, this is one of the things. I think there's not a lot of championship games that, you're going to call this team's going to win by a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that's the case again this year. We got a lot of good championship games going on, and there's definitely a way that Waseca wins this game.
When you have a game like this, Caleb, where they're going to be pretty evenly matched.
Yeah.
They both have resumes from the season that are solid, and I think it comes down to the same old thing. We'll say it over and over and over. I've been interviewed 100 times before games, and they, coach, what's it going to take to win? Don't turn the ball over. and don't get penalties. I always tell my guys when I'm coaching, we can get 10, but getting 15 and 20 is really tough.
Right.
So you don't put yourself in tough situations against really good teams. Take care of your special teams. Make your PATs. Don't be like the Vikings. Cover the kickoff, right? All that kind of stuff. So
let's not talk about that.
I know that's annoying. But anyway, you know what I mean? So I think those are the types of things that you look at as a coach afterwards. You're going to run 40 or 50 offensive plays or more, and there's going to be mistakes in there. They just can't be turnovers, right?
Right.
But I'm excited for this because I like to see how coaches coach in a championship game. What do you do differently? What does each one of these coaches have in their back pocket that they haven't run this year? They've got a 2-point play. They've got an offensive look that they've been practicing and they're saving for this game, right? So I get excited for that. Same with the defenses. There's going to be some pressures and coverages that they haven't shown that they've been saving for this too, right? So that's what makes these championship games fun.
High leverage 2-point plays. That's just what I would
I agree. 100% agree. Yep.
All right. 2A. Let's go. I think again, I feel bad, but it's like there's not a whole lot to talk about. And I feel like that's been the story of the season, that we're like, we'll talk about you guys. We'll talk about you guys. We'll talk about you guys. And then we're like,
I do think though that, this game went the way it should. The thing I liked about it is people got to see Roman Boss play on TV and see what a tremendous athlete he is. I can't remember the kid's name off the top of my head. They have another fantastic offensive lineman. The kid's like 6'7", almost 300 pounds. And I think, it's true even as a 1A school, 2A schools, even those smaller enrollment schools have just really, the teams that are at this time of the year have really big offense and defensive lines. Excuse me.
They play, I don't know. It's interesting because the whole case study on, what they did last season and what it's going to be this season. And I think everybody picked preseason, at least for my money, that it was going to be a repeat just because they won it last year without Roman Voss in the championship. And their offense, it's one of the more unique offenses of like, I think they get the ball in their best players' hands and they just let a ton of people block. And I described it as almost like a max protect punt look formation wise.
I agree.
And
it's just, to me, it's they're just
overpower.
They're just imposing their will.
Yep.
They have their strength and they're going to make you stop it. And most of the teams that they play are not even close to the physical size of that team.
Yeah.
For a 2A school. So that's where a kid like Roman can really even shine more. The genetics that he has makes it even more of a challenge for anybody they're playing. And you look at the Goodhue once again wins. So great. Impressive. They're great, Hugh. So
that was impressive.
Exactly. So good for them. I know we're going to go to this pick and it's like, I wish Goodhue had a better opportunity, but it's one of those things where I've had it as a coach too, where, man, we had a great team this year, maybe one of the better teams I've had. And that just happens to be the year that we're playing Eden Prairie in the state first round, and they have 9 D1 guys. Like you can't control what was the success of their team as well at that time. So maybe in any other year, Goodhue has
exactly. Is there a year where they do win the state title? Yes.
Right. Yeah.
But I think, I don't know, the Roshan brothers are going to have to do a whole heck of a lot, like put up a record in order to.
Yeah, that's going to be really tough. That's going to be really tough. But I think you can slide. Yeah, we can slide her.
You sweep this one. I
needed a couple wins here.
So you sweep this one.
I only picked them because Goodhue is great. Hugh.
So we're picking, and I think also, I don't know. Can we save some time and just move both of our?
Yeah, I wish there was more to talk about on that one, but it's just maybe we'll be shocked next week on the show. But
it's gonna make for a good episode of Goodhue wins.
We'll spend more time on it. I promise you, Goodhue, if you guys pull this off.
I would love to see. I'm a big upset guy. I like seeing upsets, and I think a lot of people do. So go ahead and prove us wrong, but I don't think you are, gonna be honest. But hey, I've definitely been wrong before, and if you've listened to this podcast at all, you would know that I'm wrong actually quite a lot. So maybe that's good for you guys that we both picked against you.
Oh man,
What do
this
you got
matchup,
here?
I'm excited for this.
Yeah.
I talked to Coach Johnson earlier in the year, and he's such a fantastic coach and humble. They're on a 45-game win streak,
Longest
and
streak.
it was fun to see them test it a little bit in this game.
Yeah.
Where I think that
Manoman's formidable. That's for sure.
Those kids are tough and gritty, and they weren't intimidated by the program history at Minneota. And I think that was that's a much more fun game than people probably thought. I think for Minneota, how many games have they scored 60 points or more? And for them to have a game where it's good for their players too. Because I'm telling you, I think this Breckenridge game is going to be good. I do have. I don't want to have them both on tonight, but I do have my Minneota state championship shirt. So if they get the win,
to print a 2025 one.
Coach will send me one probably, I guess. But they'd be their coach's sixth there. But I do think let's talk about this Murray County Breckenridge game. That was a fun football game.
It was.
A fun football game.
I mean, it comes down. I mean, it was back and forth, 21-21, pretty much by the end of it. And, they take it down, and Erlandson scores the 1 yard to punch it in to take the 7-point lead. And then it's one of those things, you get an offense that's not fine-tuned in the way that there's just structurally built schematic wise to go down and score in under 2 minutes. And against a good Breckenridge defense, that's not a good recipe.
Well, and that's what I talk about too. When you have teams that just really rely on a run game, and they had the ball back for their 2-minute offense, and they're running power sweep, and I'm like, that ain't gonna happen. I think it was awesome. Erlandson's such a good running back and had such another really good game. He's just, I love his shoulder lean and how hard he finishes after contact. I think, him scoring that touchdown to kind of put it away was sweet. And also having him out there on defense. He made a couple of great plays on defense at the end of that, to kind of finish it off for Murray County. And
two-way players, we see it a lot.
Well, at that level, for sure, it's going to be two-way players. There's no doubt about that. But just a fun football game. And I'm excited for this final because I do think that Breckenridge has a really good chance to end that win streak for Minneota.
I do agree with that sentiment there. So we got the Breckenridge pick, which that was yours. I picked Minneota. So we're 1-1. We cancel each other out. I was pretty feeling good about the Murray County Central default pick, and they ended up making it a decent game. And there's ways where they could have won that one, but just not able to get it done. The Breckenridge, the Cowboys, the only good Cowboys team in America. I don't know.
They might be.
I mean, hey, the Cowboys did have a good game, but they also were playing the Raiders. So this is an NFL podcast. This is a high school football podcast, though. So what is your pick here?
Well, like I said, all respect in the world for Minneota's program and their long win streak, but I've got a sentimental feel, and I feel like Breckenridge is going to somehow find a way to keep this thing close and win right at the end of the game, probably a 2-point conversion, and going against the grain here, but I got a soft spot for Breckenridge. The way they played this whole season, I think their strength of schedule has been good, and I just got a feel for it.
This is bad because I had that feel too, and I thought for sure that you were going to go with Minneota because, I mean, for multiple reasons. You talked to the coach, you had everything lined up. They're on the winning streak. They're the favored team in this.
Yep.
I thought it was going to be a pretty
the only thing I feel badly for them, they play at like 10 o'clock in the morning or something like that.
I actually took Friday off, so I'm going to be able to watch all of it. It's going to be a good Friday.
I was thinking, like, credit to both these coaches, but I mean, I always, as a coach, I started thinking about a 10 o'clock kickoff. That means you're going on the field at 9 o'clock for warmups. You got to eat pregame team meal at, 7 a.m. You got to have your team meetings. Like those kids will be up at 5 a.m. It's not their normal. I'd almost want to have some practices and all that kind of stuff for a couple of days to get the clock set for those kids. But once they get inside the bank, it'll all be awake for sure.
Right.
But man,
for sure. Well, I wanted to go Breckenridge, but I think out of respect, I think it's not good to have two people against Minneota. I'm going to say that.
All right.
So
I understand. I did that.
I'm gonna go here.
If Vegas is picking this game, like this is probably they're going to be a 7-point favorite. But I just feel like Breckenridge is maybe a little undersold, and I think they can give them a game and maybe pull one out right at the buzzer.
Yeah. So a little switch up. I got to call an audible there and kind of change. That was the only pick that I changed based off your pick. But yeah, hey, Minneota, keep the streak alive. Let's go. But Breckenridge be one hell of a story for you guys to knock off this Minneota team. A dynasty, not in the making, but it is
a dynasty. It is a dynasty. But
so Cowboys, go get them.
We'll see. Hey, we shall see.
It's going to be a fun 10 a.m. game. Love some early morning football games. Bring back some youth football nostalgia. Yep. Yeah.
Brunch game.
All right. And last but not least, 9-player. Now you got to think way back to this because this was like middle of the day,
Thursday during the day, and I actually watched both these games. I think this is kind of similar to Minneota, where Hills Beaver Creek had a little bit more of a battle than they're used to. Those boys from Fertile Beltrami gave them a run.
They turned it physical.
They really played well and made this a little bit more entertaining than I think most people were probably expecting. But it ended the way we knew it would end, I feel like. But it was fun to see them having to call plays and play defense and not just mail it in the second half because they're up by 40 points. So, which is what they're going to have to do because I think they're going to also have a battle on their hands with Hillcrest Lutheran Academy.
Yes, that is right. I mean, like we're talking about, it was 14-16 and it was close like that. They're definitely impressive for the Beltrami. Like I said, my thoughts on them at the start of the season from week 0 to now have completely flipped on its head. And even a loss doesn't take away from the turnaround that they did have because it was super impressive. But the Patriots, like I've expected, are playing at US Bank. So that's kind of nothing surprising for me. And then this Hillcrest game was because, I mean, Hillcrest controlled this game for a lot of it. And it was Kids and County Central's kind of miraculous comeback attempt that they had a good shot at that wasn't
Hillcrest, they jumped out early and kind of put it on cruise control, and then Kitson County Central starts, has a fourth quarter just surge, and then it puts all the pressure on the defense, Hillcrest Academy's defense, to not only get off the field for 9 minutes, but their offense to try to run clock. And I think sometimes that's a tougher thing to do because it takes you out of your game. They do throw the ball well and balance it up, and then all of a sudden you're locked into all of a sudden we have a 1-score game. We can't just throw the ball around. And it's not like Coach Feeney out there. It's we're just going to throw it everywhere all the time. We don't have those players. So you're not trying to stop the clock and you're not trying to, turn the ball over. And but credit to Kitson County Central because a solid football team, and we've talked about them all year. But Hillcrest Academy did what they needed to do to hold on and get in that final.
The offenses that we've said cannot come back have almost made a valiant effort, and it came down to the last minutes and seconds.
Well, and I think it's a little different too at 9-player just because there's less people out there. The way the field is, it's just different, and there are some dynamic plays that can happen that don't happen with 11 players on the field. But no, I think it's going to be a great game. I think that Hills Beaver Creek realizes that this last game that they're going to play is probably going to be the toughest game they've had all year, without a doubt.
Yep. Yes, indeed. I think you picked Fertile Beltrami, I want to say, with the outright pick.
I did.
And it ended up being a better pick than I thought it was. I thought you were crazy. But they ended up giving, like we've talked about. So
They
hey,
battled.
credit to you there for going out on a
Yep.
limb and doing that. I picked wrong over there of Kitson County Central goes down. They were quite the story, and I think they would have ended because they played a week series. They would have had 13. I don't know. They were undefeated going into that game.
Sure.
And I really like their chances, but Hillcrest, they like to throw the rock around, and they got the guy to do it
They really do.
behind the
He's
center.
really nice looking quarterback.
So it's going to be, I don't know, it's one of the funner 9-player games that is going to be kind of dynamic and expect the ball to be in the air a decent amount this game with a lot of weapons at each other's disposal there. But yeah, let's get into the picks here.
I honestly, I'm going to call another upset here. I just feel like Hillcrest Academy is
here it comes.
I think they're going to come in loose. I think they have the right amount of offense and defense to make this a close game. And I really want to see, no disrespect to Hills Beaver Creek, but I really want to see how they play if they're down a score early in this game. So if Hillcrest Academy takes the ball and goes down and scores a touchdown, how do they respond? They haven't had to come from behind this year. They've coasted quite a bit. And I think that Hillcrest Academy might put some pressure on them and see how the team reacts.
Hey, I'm not mad at that. I can tell you that much. I just think that it's not updating. Well, I'll spoil it. And I'm gonna take Hills Beaver Creek. And I think that was my.
They love you down there. You can't not pick them.
That was.
Did they have a quick trip there?
Pick. It
wasn't. Did they have a quick trip there?
I don't think so.
I don't believe you. I'm looking this up. You missed it.
I can recall. Maybe I did. Maybe if they sponsor us next year, maybe I would have looked a little harder.
I'm gonna check on that. Also, hey, before we go, we have to. Hey, I got the shirts.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
hey, that's a good. I just want to shout out Brody Metzger because he had one hell of a game for the semifinal game. But yes, we got the Minnesota High School Football Network player of the game.
Take this Breckenridge pullover off here, but we got the players of the game shirt.
Yeah.
We'll send those out. Games. We'll pick those players of the week from these championship games, and we'll get some shirts out in the mail to those players.
We'll text about who our nominees are, and we'll get that ironed out, and then we'll announce them after the game's already played. So we'll get that sent out to the players that perform the best in the championship game. So
go win a championship this week.
Go win a chip.
Man, if I'm coaching these teams, if I'm coaching this week, I think about it too. It's, you got your Tuesday practice today. You might be playing on Friday. You might be playing on Saturday. But man, you get to tell your team, and I've gotten to coach in some championship games over the years, and like, you go win a championship, like prepare, right? Prepare and watch more film than you've done. Take care of yourself, get to sleep, all those types of things. And you got this opportunity, and you're not going to get it again necessarily. So hope these kids go out and play well and make great efforts so that they can be proud of it either way.
Yes, indeed. So we got a Hills Beaver Creek pick, and we got a Hillcrest pick there. To even things out, which I like we talked about, championship week. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. Obviously there's only a certain amount of teams, but if you're at or around the metro, or if you're not even around the metro, like, go watch these games, make it an atmosphere. I think that was one of the biggest things. A lot of the semifinal games didn't have like as much attendance as I would have liked to see. Like, I saw that I didn't get to see how the Elk River fans funneled in, but like pregame, like Elk River side was pretty.
Yeah, they usually fill it up.
So hopefully they did. But if you're a fan, if you're a player, if you just want to watch good football, go. Tickets are cheap, and especially for where you sit, right? Compared to any other game. Okay. Go watch, go support, go make some noise, go create an atmosphere.
We'll break it down for you next week.
They'll remember it for their whole lives, whether it's heartbreak or whether it's victory that's going to be on their minds. But yeah, hey, that's going to do it.
Thanks for watching. Share it out there. Tell people about it. if they wanted, I guess if you share this out and you don't want a spoiler alert about the teams that are going to win the games,
right,
then maybe they shouldn't watch, right? Because we're pretty right every week.
Exactly.
So. But,
well,
yeah.
I gotta head off to a hockey.
You got a
We're recording
gig
this Tuesday night, so
he's
we
the
recorded
PA.
this
He's
earlier.
the PA for Forest Lake Hockey.
So
the voice.
the color commentator of the broadcast. My
I
brother's
love
actually
that.
the play-by-play
your brother.
guy.
Okay, he's the voice and you're the color.
Yep,
I love that.
So we make it work. But yeah, the hockey season
Don't
has started.
step on his calls. Don't step on his
No,
calls.
of
I love
course.
that. Awesome. Well, thanks for watching, you guys.
See you guys.
Have a great one.